Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Horse Geeks podcast, where we look at horses and riding from the inside out. I'm Kirsten Nelsen, professional horse trainer, and with me is my co-host, Deb Romero, certified Alexander Technique instructor. And today's topic is going to be about picking out a horse, what to look at on all these sales videos and, really getting a
Mm.
realistic view of what you're buying.
Wow.
And there's a lot of room for when you're moving living creatures around home to home, there's a
Yes.
lot to consider. So, but before we dive into this topic, I wanted to say thank you for all of the really wonderful comments on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, for some reason, I just discovered this morning before we
All right.
did this. I used to get emails when there was a comment on YouTube, and then I would
Okay.
go to YouTube Studio and look at the comments and
Right.
reply, and I really appreciated that. So apparently, I'm not getting those anymore.
Oh.
And I opened YouTube Studio on my phone to do something, and I was like, oh my God, there's all these comments.
Oh, you need to send them to me.
I'll have to figure out how, because
How?
when
Or
it came in an email, I would forward you the
right, I
email and share
remember.
the
Yeah.
comments. But I'm sorry, you guys. I just put a little
That's
like
too funny.
heart and thumbs up on everybody's comment today. All of them were really kind.
Oh,
Um,
yay. That made my
yeah,
day.
and it really made my day too to go, listeners are getting like the feedback was wonderful. And listeners are actually sort of taking some of the things we're saying and putting it to use. And even like the thumbs and pinkies, that was because this one lady commented, it was a wonderful comment, how she had gone to a clinic and the clinician kept telling her she was pulling, she was restricting her horse with the reins,
Yeah,
and she
yeah.
could not figure out what she was doing because she was focused on her hands.
Of
And
course.
just that pinky connection through the reins. It's not like you stick your pinkies out like high tea, but you just sort of think with your normal hand position on the reins, connecting through the pinky.
Right.
And
Big
it,
difference. Big changing your thinking about it is the big deal.
yeah, and we'll have to do a podcast on like the whole lengthening thing when you're asking a horse to slow down. And it's so
Oh, we're going to have to come up
interesting.
with some great words for that, huh?
It's kind of
Yeah.
hard to explain, but
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that.
when I'm in person with someone, this was another really recent discovery. But I we were touching um like index fingers. So the rider would we would just connect my index finger to the rider's index finger in opposing directions. And I would have the rider push to mimic the forward push of the horse's movement.
Hmm.
And then I would show them what eccentric contraction felt like in my body as the braking aid,
Oh,
right? And what was so interesting is what actually happens between fingertips is if I eccentrically contract, so I'm not pushing back against the rider's fingertip and I'm not
right.
giving, it dynamically creates an upward force.
We
And
play a game. Yeah,
it was so clear. I was so
it's very
excited.
clear when you can touch somebody.
Yeah, because it
Yeah.
gave that direction.
Yeah. Direct. And
And
that's all about what I do is direction.
that's what balance is. It's
Yeah.
not, it's sort of how you direct the energy you have, right? And so
That's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
yeah, and so the whole lengthening thing, the other like massive epiphany I had was I could feel what you felt, what you feel when you put hands on
Oh,
people.
yay.
I could feel where they were misdirecting. And
Yeah.
every
Isn't that
rider,
cool?
it was mind blowing.
I know. That's why I
I
love what I do.
I know. And I went, it was literally touching index fingers.
But you can feel the whole energetic volume
I could
of the
feel where
body through that.
absolutely I could
It's
feel
incredible.
where they were tightening,
Yep.
where they were going the wrong direction. They were
Hmm.
too much up, not enough down, right? Or not enough width, not enough outward direction of their body.
Right. Not taking up their own space. Are we changing our
Right.
podcast title?
Well, maybe little sidetrack, you guys. This is what we do. Okay, we'll go back to buying a horse, picking out a
Okay.
horse. But that was well,
That it we'll have to do a podcast on that because all I do. That's why I love it.
I know. And it's like the moment you get that the aha experience or the penny drops or whatever you call it, it's like there's just this moment of clarity when you're learning anything. And it was even clear through the fingertips to the rider
Oh, that's
that
cool.
when you contract vertically, that is directing
It's a
the up.
direction.
It's a
Mhm.
direction to the horse that is
Yes.
dynamic,
Yes.
and that's how you lift their back. But here we are, like thinking we have to wrap our legs around their belly and, push
It's
it
so funny.
upward, you
Well,
know?
because I had the same experience getting on the horse that I rehabbed 2 years ago. I got on him yesterday, but that was the whole experience.
Let's keep
The
talking about this.
Okay,
Okay, you guys,
we're just
topic
gonna change the
change.
topic.
Yeah. So
Sorry, guys.
we're gonna do picking out a horse next time,
Okay.
but I love where
We're
this is
passionate
going.
about where we're going, but
Yeah.
so what happened with this horse? The owner was getting on him and saying he won't go forward, he won't go forward. And then she shared with me, I have this instinct to grip.
Oops, you froze. Oops, hang on. Let me pause the recording, you guys.
Went out. I heard from the horse owner that I rehabbed 2 years ago, who I still work with, that the horse wouldn't go forward. And then she shared with me that she has a problem with gripping with her legs.
Hmm.
So I wasn't seeing it as the person on the ground. So I said, well, let me get on him. And it was that whole thought about what you were saying about going vertical, because it creates the space for the
Yes.
horse to come up underneath you. And
Yes.
so what I did was to test the whole theory. I just kind of dumped my pelvis forward and he completely shut down and stopped.
It's so dynamic.
I know.
It's
And I
so
went,
dynamic.
oh, wow. Because the connection, because when you do that, when you are not engaging your abs and kind of pulling your belly up, your legs will grip to stabilize your pelvis. It's just a biomechanical thing that happens. So if you pull the belly button up towards the sternum, the psoas lets go and the legs let go, and heat just moves right through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I also find that the gripping of the legs will be a direct result of the pelvis tipped too far forward or backwards.
right. So to me, it's just
Hmm.
we don't have the head, neck, back, and pelvis stabilized.
Yeah.
That unit isn't functioning properly, so the legs and the arms tighten.
Yeah.
That
And it's
it's just a biomechanical thing that happens with humans.
and it's unconscious and instant.
Oh,
And
totally,
people will
totally.
say, don't grip, don't pull, just,
But they don't know what to do with that.
but you have to have something to do instead. Like
Exactly.
you can't direct your body in a negative. You have to direct your body to do something different, maybe new. But the whole leg gripping thing is so interesting because I find if the pelvis is tipped slightly forward, it's going to activate the quads.
Oh
And
yeah,
if
it
the
happens.
pelvis
It
is
happens just
tipped,
sitting in a chair.
or maybe I have that backwards. Wait, if the pelvis is tipped too far forward, it activates the hamstrings. And if the
It
pelvis
activates
is
the whole
tipped,
device of pulling in.
yes, definitely. And
Whatever muscles
everybody,
those are, it's a contraction in. It's fetal. It's a fetal response.
Well, anytime we're in a shortening contraction, this is the other thing I've been explaining with horses that won't go forward or horses that won't stop, is when we shorten any muscle in our body, if like you can just play with it. So if you think of contraction, like we think of contraction equals shortening, right? So if we
Right?
want to show off our big fat biceps, we shorten and show off our big guns, right? And
Right?
so that is just one type of muscular contraction.
Exactly.
So when we contract, when we're riding a horse, you can feel it. If you shorten your muscles, the direction of the invisible force goes towards your center. It comes inward. So if you
Hmm.
think of interacting, whether you're dancing with a partner or you're riding a horse, any shortening contraction is going to be pulling because it's going
Exactly.
towards your center, which means it's going against the horse's motion.
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter if it's your ankles or your fingertips
exactly.
or your back, those shortening contractions create an inward direction of force. And so I go, well, we have to contract because I also see riders who go, contraction is bad and they're too loose. And
Mm.
I go,
Hmm.
now you're just exaggerating every imbalance the horse has. If you're not using your muscles in contraction, then your body weight is being tossed with every weight
Good
shift the
point.
horse makes. And so if we think of ourselves as weight, it's like if we're too relaxed, the horse shifts our body weight excessively in the same direction they shift their body weight,
Right?
right? We're just going to go with the flow. We're going to go out of balance with the horse, but we're adding weight to that imbalance. So we're part of the problem. So you can't just move with the horse and not use any contraction. That
Right.
has a negative effect. But if you're shortening in your muscle contraction, you're
Mm.
pulling and gripping. It
Uh,
it can't be otherwise because it's
And
an inward direction of force
right.
when we shorten our muscles.
And I see horses and people go through this on their journey is they go from the contraction, which is a downward inward pull,
Hmm.
to total disconnection of falling apart, like you said, kind of
Hmm.
all over the place. And then by some grace of God,
You find the middle.
you find tone, what I call tone, the
Yeah.
appropriate tone for the activity.
Yeah, because if our muscles wouldn't aren't contracting at all, we're going to fall off.
Right.
So of
So
course
it's
there's muscle contraction.
there's a level of tone needed to stay neutral.
Yeah, and I would define tone as the appropriate amount of muscle contraction for the moment.
And
I,
it's for the moment.
mhm.
It's for the nanosecond.
But when we have eccentric contraction, right? So concentric contraction is a shortening of the muscle and tightening, right? Then there's zero contraction, which is complete suppleness of the muscle or inactivity.
Right?
But then if we take our arm and lengthen the bicep muscle, we can still tighten it.
Have you ever
And
played
that
that
is
game?
eccentric contraction.
Have you ever played that game in a doorway?
Yeah,
Yeah, that game where you push and push and push against the doorway, that's an eccentric contraction.
exactly. So
Right.
every muscle in our body can contract. There's actually four types of muscle contractions, but we won't go into that. We'll just do eccentric and concentric. So concentric is the shortening,
Get
contracting of
smaller.
the muscle,
Yeah, you get smaller.
coupled with tightening, right? No contraction is just no contraction, suppleness, right? But if you've been chronically shortening, you almost can't completely restore suppleness. It takes a while,
Right.
right? And if you eccentrically contract, and what I do in my head is I just tell every muscle in my body to lengthen, like all at once. And I
Hmm.
go, just lengthen. I give my body the direction and then increase contraction. And
And it comes
so,
with a thought. It has to be in the thinking first. You have to change the way you think about it.
yeah, or I kind of look at it like you've got a certain amount of weight, you've got a certain amount of energy. And when you give it invisible direction, that's the key to balance.
Invisible direction.
So the forces
Interesting.
of motion, and this is your work, is all about direction,
It's all about directing.
right?
Yeah, directing your body.
So I go, you take what you have, which is
Yep.
a certain amount of strength, a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of body weight. But when you give it specific direction, it organizes the way you want it to. And you got no clue how that's happening.
No, you
It
don't.
just works like
And
miraculously.
the central nervous system loves it.
Right. So when we're thinking we have to push a rib cage over, rather than directing our legs towards the ground, those are very different uses of your legs, right? Or when we're squeezing a horse like a tube of toothpaste to go forward, that's a
Right.
very different direction than an aid that requests the horse to go forward.
And it's so funny you bring that up because when I was riding this horse yesterday and all I did was open my pelvis and think vertical, the owner even said, I don't think you did anything but think about it.
It's
And
very subtle. It is
they get
really
that.
subtle when you get it right.
Yeah.
And so, like, I worked with a rider this week who was very traditionally trained to a high level, and she was really struggling in rehab. Her horse is kind of unstable, and she was struggling with the whole lengthening thing. And when
Mm,
we did the fingertip to fingertip, I knew exactly what she was doing. I'm like, how do you know that through just a
it's
touch?
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's it's
it blew
amazing.
my mind, still blows my mind. But that was a great example of I could feel. So we worked on lengthening her legs first because when I asked her to lengthen up and down, all of her whole body only went up, but it didn't come down. It was
Because it's
only
in
an
the
up.
try. It's the problem is in the try, in the do,
Right. So I
because you're trying
said,
to do it instead of being it. And that's a hard concept for people to grasp in
yes.
the body, in organizing the body.
And so for her, I said, forget about the up part. I said, just find the down part
Right.
and connect into gravity with your length, right? Find those tree roots where you really feel connected to gravity over the horse. And then I could feel she couldn't quite find the length of her legs. And I go, try rocking forward. And it was like a couple of millimeters. It wasn't much,
Mm,
right? I said, just think a little more forward. And as soon as she nailed true vertical with her pelvis, it activated the deeper inner muscles of the leg bones, like the adductor muscles.
right.
And so we have around our thigh bone, we've got the quads on front, the hamstrings on the back, which are more roundish muscles that move, that spiral kind of through across the thigh bone, but they're more roundish. And the deeper adductor muscle is the flattest part of the thigh. That's what we want to snug in against the horse. But you can't, and it's such a gentle activation. It's like you
Hmm.
can't make your adductor work,
Well,
but
that's gripping. If you try to make it work, it's gripping, it's
I don't
shortening.
think people can do it with the adductor. I think it resorts to the hamstrings and the quads. Like as soon
I
as
have to
you
play with
grip,
that. Let's all play with that this week and see what we come up with.
yeah,
Because I
because
think it's different for everybody. I
it
really
could
do.
be, but I
That
find it's really hard to make your core muscles activate.
now
It's
that
all
I agree with
that's what I
because
mean.
the level of organization, that's all I work with most people is letting go of that huge psoas muscle to stabilize the pelvis because that muscle is not you shouldn't be used for that. And
Right.
that means you've really got to start activating your core. And the core, if you think about it, if you're looking at a muscular body, it's just muscles and fascia, a picture of that. your abs go all the way around and connect to your back. It's not just in your front.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. That was the other part of this writer's key. I'm so glad you said that because after we kind of found where her pelvis needed to be, I could feel her legs direct all her energy
Hmm.
down in a really, it's incredibly subtle. It's incredibly soft. But as a typical female rider with shoulders back and the whole 9 yards,
Right.
I said, forget about the up. You're going to start with down, and then you're going to think about your lower torso, your pelvis, not even low back. Think more like the center of your lower torso. And I said, you're going to think of making it round and wide like a tree trunk.
I like that.
And that really, because she was art, like if she did tip forward, she would arch the back a little bit. And when
Yeah.
she was trying to find length, I think this is really typical of female riders. She had too much up because she was pulling her body weight into her chest and shoulders.
She was pulling up instead of being up.
Right.
Yeah,
There's a big
there's
difference.
a
And
big difference.
so I
Yeah.
said, forget about the up. Just don't even worry about the up. You're going to find the down from the hip joint and seat bones through the inner leg all the way to your feet to the ground. And then those roots are going to support the tree trunk. But I said, just think about your whole, like a trunk of a tree. It's round. It's not board
Yeah.
shaped. It's
And we
like,
forget that we're 3D. It's not a
right?
linear thing, it's a 3D thing going on. There's fascial lines crossing the body. If you think of a dancer, how they access the spirals, I mean, we've really got to think more 3D to access all of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And when she found it, it was such a beautiful ride
How
because
cool.
it took all of her mental effort to just keep finding that in her own
It's
body,
exhausting
right?
the first few times. It's
Right. And so I
exhausting.
said, look, just kind of forget about your horse and, guide her if needed, but just really focus on getting familiar because it's about 100 times less effort than she normally uses. And it's very subtle. So I said, just get familiar with that feeling of the tree trunk and the leg roots. And her horse had the space to put herself together. And it was
I love
amazing.
that.
It was amazing because her horse is pretty close to like pulling her balance together. But what was so interesting is the less the rider did, the more she focused on this internal sensation in her body, her horse would kind of come and go in and out of balance. But
Mm.
without the aids, otherwise, leg aids, rein aids, she would come back into balance, right? And she would put herself together and she would give herself a half halt. She would, adjust her speed, her stride length, or her posture, and kind of come and go, teetering, balance, imbalance, and then get more and more and more strides strung together of balance. And it was like the rider was finally quiet and stable enough for her to do that.
It's the calm water syndrome.
Yeah, it was so cool.
And what you said is the word self. The horse you were creating space for the horse to self-regulate.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
That's what
So
we're all about.
and just her focusing on that vertical connection,
Mhm.
when the horse lost her balance, that was the aid,
That
right?
is the
It
aid.
is the aid, is that we don't lose our balance when a horse loses balance. Our, like the usefulness that the human body has on the back of a horse is vertical is easy for us. Vertical is easy. That's how we're built, right? And vertical is a hard direction for horses to master,
Exactly.
but it's easy for us, right? And left, right, front, back is easy for horses, but that's difficult for us. That's what causes us to grip,
Right.
right? And shift our weight all over the place. And so if we really focus on our vertical direction, and some people it was more up, this case it was more down, but it's up and down, right?
We have to remember it's not one more than the other. I think in one podcast you talked about the teeter totter. It's not You can't be too much one or the other,
Right.
or it's out of balance. But it's this constant conversation
Yes.
of
And just
fluidity. Yeah.
just by really refining and her holding her refined vertical balance, no matter what the horse did, the horse figured out the front, back, left, right, and
Yeah.
found vertical. And
That's way
if
cool.
we stay in that vertical length, we can increase contraction to the nth degree of our energy and ability, and it never interferes.
That's a good point.
It never
If it's the
creates a
eccentric contraction in length. Yeah.
right. Right. So you guys
That's the key.
listening, you can feel this for yourself because, like I said, concentric contraction directs all the energy towards our center. Right? So if we're holding hands with somebody, we're going to pull. If we're holding reins, we're going to create a pulling sensation,
Yeah,
pulling direction.
that's the thumb driven.
But eccentric contraction has the opposite direction of force. So when we lengthen our muscles and contract, the force we generate goes outward away from our center. And so when it's going away from our center, we can offer stability without the direction of pulling.
We don't get our boat rocked.
Yeah,
And I
we're
don't
more stable, absolutely.
exactly.
And we need the muscle contraction in order to remain stable when a horse loses their balance. But eccentric contraction is an away from our center
Exactly.
direction. And concentric contraction is a towards our own center direction of force.
Exactly.
And it's
I
the direction of force that,
yeah.
like, even on a slack rein, horses that hate the bit, what they really hate is the direction.
It's the negative direction
It's
towards the body.
it's the
I
pulling
totally agree.
direction towards the rider.
Hmm.
And when we have a rein contact, I can offer rein resistance. And as long as I'm in eccentric contraction, I'm not pulling against the horse is pulling against me until
Quite
they
different.
correct. Yeah. Yeah. And as soon as a horse pulls on us, our instinct is concentric contraction to pull
It's the
back.
fetal response of protection. It's
Yeah.
very hard to learn to override that.
Yeah.
It
So you guys listening can feel this for yourself. This is how I get people to understand what the hell I'm talking about when I'm giving a lesson, is you can take your arm and just shorten your bicep and tighten it, right? Show off your big guns. Then you can lengthen your arm completely, right? And lengthen the bicep as much as possible and contract it,
mhm.
right? You can still tighten it. And then you can take your fingertips, and I usually like if you put them on a tabletop, but if you just lightly rest your hands on top of a desk or a table, you'll feel that if you think of shortening your muscles and tightening, your hands gently pull towards you. And you can feel your fingertips. You can feel the direction of force on your fingertips. And then if you think of lengthening every muscle in your body and contracting, you feel your fingertips push away from your body,
Right.
right? And you can
I
shorten the reins.
right.
If you're going to use rein resistance, shorten the rein length, but never shorten your
Shorten your arm.
arms.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a game we played. If you have a partner, you can play this game in the tack room if it's a day that you can't ride, is you get on all fours and the humans touch heads and see what the amount of energy is needed to maintain neutral between two forces.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I
it's
have
fun. It is
never
so
heard of
fun
that one.
because once you figure it out, it's not much energy to create contact.
Yeah, it's
It's
very little.
very subtle. We go into it with all this force, but
We
in
take a contact. Oh,
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
exactly. But it's not, if you do it with another human, you could even probably do it with hands, but it's much more fun to do it on all fours because you kind of get the of what's going on with your relationship with your horse at that point. So
Yeah,
if
but
you can, or
you got to have a girlfriend like us. Like
yeah.
not everybody's willing to do that.
You can try it up against a wall
Oh
just
yeah.
to see, what am I doing when I make contact? Am I contracting? Am I not?
Yeah. And I've done different exercises with riders to help them understand horse balance. It does help to go on all fours
Yeah, does.
because you start to feel how much more you can compensate rather
Yeah,
than balance when you've got four limbs on the ground. You can be massively out of balance and not unstable, right?
right,
But on our little upright 2 feet, we don't, if we go out of balance very far, we fall over.
right.
But when you're crawling, it's like, oh yeah, you can be all over the place and you're still kind of stable.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's interesting with the contact. And that's what I found is like just feeling your fingertips on something
Yeah.
is, you start to get a sense of how you use your body in different ways to create directions of force, right? And there, of course, there's up, down, left, right, front, back. So I go, we're a three-dimensional body, and for every amount of up, if we're balanced, there's an equal amount of down.
There has
Or,
to be. If it's balanced, there has to be. That's just
right.
how physics works.
And I was going to say the definition of balance, according to physics, is an equalization of force in
Hmm.
every single opposing direction of a three-dimensional body. I go, that pretty much nails
Yeah,
it.
exactly. And that's why we see riders come off
Well, or
because
I was going to
their
say,
energy's too high and they're not making it equal.
well, the people who carry the body weight and the energy too far up,
Hmm.
they usually fall off more easily and they tend to get a little bit launched when they fall off.
Yes.
And the riders who kind of go against the motion, who sit heavy in the seat or sit backwards, they fall off less often. That's why experienced riders gravitate to being behind vertical,
Right.
but they do not have the ability to easily cope with quick turns.
Right.
So
That you're dead.
yeah, they go off the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of value keeping our weight in our lower part of our body to stay on a horse.
Right.
But if we're too far back, we can't feel the left to right imbalances in the horse, and we're kind of at the mercy of them, like we're at the end of the sling. And so
Right.
if a horse turns, we're kind of at the outer edge of that whip and that's why people will go off the side.
You know what I like watching? I've been watching a lot of the five-star events kind of things with Boyd Martin, and the physics that goes on the cross country course of those riders is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think we could learn a lot from them about eccentric contractions and reins. You do not see them going over a jump that is on a hill or into water holding onto the reins. They're letting go and
Mm-hmm.
eccentrically loading their arms
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
maintain balance over that huge force. I love watching how they use their bodies
Yes.
on the cross country courses. It amazes me.
Yeah, and it's a little more like when you're dealing with high speeds, big jumps, uneven terrain, or like even watching cow working horses. Like if
Right.
you
Same
watch,
thing.
right, and if you watch cutting, I go, there's a great example of not needing rein contact for an athletic horse. Like
Exactly.
that is a great example of it. And the horse is doing the work, right? The rider's trying to stay out of the way. And the only
Exactly.
way, like, there's just a simple truth to it. I go, try it your way. But if you're going
Try
at,
gripping on that. I used to ride cutting horses when I was a kid, and you don't grip. There's no gripping. It's all
you're,
about balance.
you're going off.
You're going
Well,
off if you grip.
yeah. So I go, once you get a horse at high speeds, tight turns, big jumps, really athletically challenging stuff, if you don't get it right, you're going to get hurt.
Yep.
And so that's where I kind of like the timed events, the rides where it's about who gets across the finish line, who
Mhm.
doesn't take down the most rails and gets the best time. And there's still, that could be improved, but I go, that
Right.
kind of keeps us more on the right track because if you
Mhm.
don't mostly have it right, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
You
It's,
can't do it.
yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
And there's a lot of other horse competitions where you can be so far off the mark and still win because
Unfortunately.
it's a subjective judging event.
Right.
It's not like who gets across the finish line first or who has the best time. And so you see more kind of distortions of movement, and that's where I see fad and fashions take hold,
Yes, I agree.
is in the horse competitions that are subjectively judged. I go, that's where it can go a little sideways.
Yep.
But when athletic performance depends on it, the balance gets better
Yeah,
incrementally
it's
in horse and
fascinating to watch.
rider.
Or even horse racing. The same balance is going on.
Yeah, if you look at really good jockeys, and I know
Yeah.
we've said this before, from a distance, they look like little still peas on top of the this moving,
Exactly.
galloping horse. And then you get up close and you see the arms and legs acting as shock absorbers, but
Right.
that head, back, and seat are not moving
Perfectly still and
perfectly still,
in alignment. That's the
almost
key.
horizontal.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's the key in all those other sports we talked, the cutting, the eventing. That's what I'm seeing. These people are maintaining vertical and their relationship with the ground and
absolutely.
staying in eccentric contraction.
Right. So, like, the only difference between eccentric contraction in a human vertical alignment is it's like we're standing over the horse.
Mhm.
And the reason we have half seats or semi-horizontal or like racing full horizontal alignments with gravity is because it frees up our arm and leg joints to act like shock absorbers. So if you have big,
Mhm.
powerful movement, then you better stabilize your torso or your arms and legs can't absorb the
Mhm.
shock, right?
Exactly. It's kind of like the people with walkers. It's that concept. A person with a walker is balancing off their arms and legs and contracting where there's no stabilization in
Right.
their head, neck, back, and pelvis.
Yeah.
And then the fear of falling comes in. So,
Yeah, and it's funny, like even the rising trot. The rising trot was a very clever invention by somebody because what it does is the rising trot allows you to absorb all of these chaotic forces of motion when a horse is unbalanced. And by exaggerating the flexion and extension through our hip joint, knee, and ankle, what we're really doing is shock absorbing in
right.
in
Good point.
order to keep the torso stable, right?
Yes.
And so when I see people posting with an unstable torso, I go, you've missed the point, right? It's not about up, down for the sake of, I don't know, just because.
Right.
And it's the whole purpose of the rising trot is to keep our torso stable on unbalanced forces of motion. And it's the same with a half seat for jumping. That's a big force of motion, right? Or like you said, cross country or even racing, the
Hmm.
gallop has a lot of force, right? So it's how to get above the force to keep our torso stable
Right.
and use the joints, like you say, are my joints open and available
That is, yep. I say
to
that all the time to
to
myself.
act like shock absorbers. It's so
Yeah.
funny. Lily's made a cameo today on the video
Yes, she
podcast.
has.
It's cold outside this morning, so the cats were like, "Let us back in." But I think we better wrap it up and
Okay.
a bit of a sidetrack. So, what was
No,
our
but
title? I
is it
think,
eccentric contractions? I don't know.
yeah, we could call it that. eccentric contract or directing forces.
Directing forces with eccentric contractions. I don't know.
That's a long title.
That's a long title.
I'll think about it. I'll
You'll
come up
figure
with
it out.
something. So picking
You're
out a
good at
horse
that.
and looking at videos, we'll do that next time, you guys.
Whenever. Sorry,
Yeah.
we were passionate about it, the subject today. So I'm glad we talked about it.
Well, and that's the thing I love about working with horses or your work with human bodies. It's like it's never ending learning.
It's never ending.
It's never ending. And I think the more we get to these subtle layers,
Mm.
like what I love about working with the invisible part, because forces of motion are invisible, but I go, they're tangible. I go,
It's the real thing.
well, and I go, it's not hard to feel. We know when it's hot and cold outside. We feel temperature. That's
Hmm.
invisible. We feel humidity. That's invisible. And we feel wind. I go, and that's invisible. We see the effects of wind, but we
Right.
feel the force of wind. So I go, the movement of the horse is no different than these other invisible forces. And when you fall off a horse, you're like, oh, yeah, gravity,
There it
that's
is.
always working too. And so when we direct forces of motion, when we give it a direction of
Hmm.
forward and up, right? So a balanced horse going forward is equal parts horizontal forward force balanced with vertical upward force. That's how they control their body weight. So when we become more vertical and we're directing our energy up and down, we help them find it.
Pretty much when we're taking care of our own business, the horse figures it out.
Yeah, worry about yourself. Just worry about yourself. Yeah.
Quit trying to manipulate the horse. We got enough problems just controlling our own human bodies.
Yeah, so let's call this one managing directions of,
I
well,
like that.
okay. Nobody will know what that means until they listen, but we'll call it managing directions of
I like it.
force.
Welcome to my world.
I know, right? And I know sometimes like we plant these seeds and I go, it's a little different. You might have to listen to some of the podcasts more than once, but
Or shoot us a response.
well, and apparently now I know where to go look. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
apologize. I
Cool.
apologize to all those beautiful comments that
Aw,
I wasn't quick in responding, but I responded today to everybody,
good.
and I'll try to figure out a way to forward them to you,
That
Deb.
would be
They're very
nice.
good. Yeah.
All right.
Yes. Okay, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you again for the comments, the likes, the
Yes.
subscribes, the shares, the yada yada yadas. And
Mm.
Lily's like tapping me on the shoulder.
Yep.
So
Time you up.
time time to go.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.